Zambo, and a very warm welcome to Drungtsho BBS in English. I'm Thong, the show that brings you essential health information and medical insights. However, in today's episode takes a slightly different approach, focusing on a critical topic, that is child protection. While not directly related to any diseases or any medical conditions, child protection is an integral part of healthy and early development and well-being of all the children. And it also ensures that their rights are upheld and they're protected from harm. And by addressing child protection issues, we can prevent future problems and create a safe and nurturing environment for all our children to grow. So to learn more about child protection, we have Mr. Dukpa with us today, who is a Chief of Response Services at the PEMA. And for those of you who don't know about the PEMA is an organization dedicated to promoting mental health and well-being. And they work to create a supportive environment through policies, partnerships, and accessible services. And their ultimate goal to ensure that everyone in Bhutan has the resources and support they need to thrive. So without further ado, Mr. Dukpa, would you like to begin our discussion by introducing what exactly is child protection? And before that, if you could mention the category or what are the age groups that falls under or considered to be a child.
Les, thank you so much. Anybody who is below 18 is considered and defined as a child. And child protection, as you mentioned, has two major components, prevention and response. What do we prevent from? We prevent children from harm. What are the different types of harm? It can be physical abuse, sexual abuse, it can be neglect, exploitation, and emotional abuse. So we prevent children from all these types of harm through different mechanisms. The second part of the definition of child protection is about responding to harm. While we prevent, and that is the major effort that we need to put in, it's also important to see that there can be cases where there can be issues of child protection. So it's also important to have mechanisms to respond to these issues. So responding to harm done to a child is then in a whole package is called child protection. So preventing and responding to harm caused on children is called child protection.
Yes, sir. So why child protection? So to my understanding, the PEMA works revolving mental health and well-being of individuals. So how does child protection collide or intersect with the mandates of the PEMA?
Yes, thank you. Mental health in itself is a state where everybody is well, able to function well, able to cope well. And the moment it is no more health, it becomes mental health conditions. So in order to prevent from children and everyone from having mental health conditions, it's important to ensure that they have the right environment and create situations where they can thrive. Adverse childhood experiences like child protection issues and abuses can aggravate or be the cause or trigger mental health conditions. So that's the reason why, while the PEMA is the nodal agency for mental health in Bhutan, the reason why protection is connected to mental health services is also because we want to prevent all the factors that actually contribute to mental health conditions. Mental health conditions are actually aggravated and triggered or caused by numerous issues. There is no one particular factor. And that's the reason why it is important to water the roots. If we have been watering the leaves, now it's time for us to water the roots. Look at the causes and address those factors like child abuse and adverse childhood experiences. And that's the reason why child protection and mental health services go hand in hand.
So, Mr. Dukpa, just curious about your role as the Chief of Response Services at the PEMA. What you do?
We do a lot of things. And of course, to summarize and say it, we work with the prevention and engagement department. We also work with the office where I work is the response services. It is the acute response where there are issues. Before that, the prevention will take care. And after responding to the issues, then there we have treatment and rehabilitation if required. And if there are people who need livelihood and reintegration and skilling, there is also a department that works for reintegration and aftercare. So there is that continuum of care in the whole services. And particularly the office that I work for, the response services, is respond to numerous issues, including mental health, substance use, protection issues, be it gender-based violence, be it child protection issues. And child protection is one major services within the response services of the PEMA. And I, as the head of the response services, make sure that all these services are in place. All the services provided are standard. All the services are ethically provided. All the children or clients who come are ensured safety and complete services from the office side.
So, sir, what are the most common child protection issues, or you may say child abuse or neglect issues that you encounter?
So we have physical abuse, we have sexual abuse, we have emotional abuse, which includes even the verbal abuse. We have exploitation of children, and then neglect. These are different types of abuses that children can experience if the environment is not safe for them. Given the literature and research done within Bhutan, physical abuse have always been at the top, be it by prevalence or by the number of cases received. So we have administrative data with the Royal Bhutan Police, we have administrative within the PEMA. So by administrative data as well as by prevalence data, physical abuse always comes at the top. And we feel that most of these physical abuse incidences come from the fact that we discipline children the way we were disciplined a long time ago. And we haven't learned another tool or skill to discipline children. And have these been helpful to us? Not necessarily, because the impact, the psychological and the psychosocial impact on children have never been measured within this context. And that's the reason why it's important for parents as well as teachers or any adult for us to learn new skills to adapt, to see how we can correct children. And there is something called connection before correction. We correct a child even before connecting to a child. So it's now important to take the shift and connect to a child before we even correct a child, because it is easier to correct when we feel connected. So there are certain skills and mechanisms that we need to learn a lot.
So, sir, can gentle parenting be one of the key aspect that parents or teachers should consider while parenting or teaching the children? So should gentle parenting or teaching be necessarily effective?
Yes, there's positive parenting, parenting without violence, because most of the violence comes from our own inability to manage our own emotions or frustrations. And in most of the papers it has been shown that it is not the child's problem, it is our own inability to maintain and manage our own emotions. That's the reason why we displace our emotions on children. And then we, of course, later evade the guilt, saying that I did it for the sake of the child. So positive parenting, positive disciplining has always been helpful, which is already in our system. And we need to strengthen it with more expertise, more awareness and training and skilling to the parents as well as teachers. Our teachers also need this help and support so that they can give the best to the children who will be the leaders of the country tomorrow.
So the child abuse issues that you mentioned are physical, sexual, emotional, exploitation, and neglect. So the first three are quite understandable, and people knows about that. What about exploitation and neglect? Can you shed some light on that?
Yes. Engaging children in earning money through various means can be exploitation.
Yes.
Children, they are not ready to take the responsibilities of an adult. They are still developing and growing.
Yes.
And prostitution, for example, where an adult is earning money out of that, can be a child endangerment. It is an exploitation.
Yes.
The other one is neglect, that is said. Like, neglect can come in many ways. Not sending a child to school, not attending to the child's needs.
Yes.
It can be basic needs, it can be emotional needs. For example, these days we have all these kinds of gadgets where even parents are involved almost the whole day on the gadgets, TikTok and many other social media platforms. And we are together at home, but we are not together. So that can also be part of the neglect. And any form of abuse, be it neglect, exploitation, and the other common ones, are actually against the law.
Yes.
Because we have legal provisions that protects children from all these forms of abuse.
True.
And abuse.
Yes. So how can a child recognize or identify that they are being abused? At that age, how can they recognize that?
It is quite clear if it is physical and sexual abuse,
True.
even verbal and emotional abuse, which is quite prevalent, but not to the extent where we need to be very alarmed. The moment you do not feel comfortable and okay, it is affecting you already.
Yes.
That's the time when children themselves can go and seek help from the person who is closest to them. It can be a teacher, it can be a parent, it can be someone close to them. A parent can identify a child who is not willing to share. Maybe we need to create an atmosphere, an environment where children can open up. So being docile as a parent or a teacher may not necessarily help children because it blocks their willingness to share their feelings and experiences. So the first thing is we need to open up. And when we open the doors to them to be open and express their feelings and experiences, then they will then come and share. Do not judge a person who is sharing.
Yes.
We can also identify children with bruises that have no actual cause within the home or school.
Yes.
So they might hide it. So it's important to ask what happened. Now,
Yes.
but before that, create that environment where the child will tell the truth. It's also common that children have erratic changes in behavior, sudden changes in behavior because the children are actually feeling differently. So sudden changes in behavior can be one of the signs that we need to be careful with, especially children. Somebody who is lively suddenly comes home and just locks the room. Different children react or respond differently. So some might sleep excessively, while some may not be able to sleep. Some will have a lot of trauma and fear, even the fear of going out and meeting people. So these are signs and symptoms. Some might express in the form of performance. So their performance might suddenly dwindle. So it's important to look at all these domains to see that our children are protected.
So what role can the listener play after hearing the experiences shared by the children?
Excellent question, La. I think that is quite important. When children share, it's not about judging them. It's not about blaming them. It's not about saying, you shouldn't have gone there. No, they do not know about it. That's why child protection is in place. If they knew about it, there wouldn't be even laws to protect children separately. The first thing is just be there to ensure that I am there for you. That assurance has to be given. It's okay to express more. Let them express more so that it lightens them up. then they will feel that at least in the world there's one person to listen to my issues. And that confidence will help them deal with their trauma or fear or any other things that they are experiencing. And then the first thing is, the moment you feel that the children are now more safe, it's important to create that environment of safety. And then report to agencies. 1098 is the child helpline.
Yes.
That can be the first contact. And then the nearest police station can be another. It can be a teacher if the parent comes to know. Parents can also call the 1098 and inform about this abuse. So while creating environment, safe environment, then assurance of support and safety, and then report the case. And after reporting the case, assure the child that there is at least somebody to support you and help you. It is not wrong for you to express or report this case. So that assurance for children will encourage them to come forward and share about the abuses they are experiencing.
Yes. So, sir, what if children doesn't have access to that go-to person where they can share about the experiences that they have had? So, what are the advices if they don't have the go-to person who can listen to their needs or traumas or experiences? Then what do they do?
Lesla, there can be situations.
Is it just
like
the hotline that you mentioned earlier, that is 1098, which I think children are not aware of?
Yes.
So what advice do you have for them?
Lesla, of course, the first thing is 1098. That is that can be activated at any point in time. That's a 24/7 helpline. And if there are no means to reach out to 1098, if it is within the children, then immediately go to the nearest teacher or the principal. If it is at home, you will have at least someone whom you can confide with, share there. And if you're alone, and if you're in danger, and that's when, like, there are no means to call, there are no means to even talk to the person. You are in the middle of the forest. Shout. Like, for example, there's no other choice.
Yes.
There are no other people, no adults. Shout in a way that at least the people nearby you will be able to listen to you, hear you, and then come to save you. Because there are instances where children were dragged to the forest nearby the roads and then abused.
Yes.
So our children will need to have the confidence to even not only freeze, but make that noise in a way that they can, somebody nearby can help them.
Yes. So, in line with the rise of child abuse issues, how has the prevalence of child protection issues changed over time in Bhutan?
We may not necessarily say that it has increased. While the administrative data, the number of calls have increased, let us not directly conclude and say that child abuse cases are increasing. Because when the services are more accessible, it is expected that the number of calls and number of people availing the services will naturally increase. So it does not necessarily mean it has increased. It prevailed even when these services were not there.
True.
So for now, let us say that are there cases? Yes. Are there protection issues? Yes. Is it as alarming as much as all of us should be quite worried? Not necessarily very alarming, but we should be concerned because there are issues, Sessionila.
So what are some of the roles the PEMA plays in child protection? And are there any specific initiatives or programs that is specified to child protection and care?
Yes. So these protection services actually started somewhere in 2018 through the National Commission for Women and Children. And in 2023, all these services were transferred to the PEMA. In a way, as I explained, the protection and the mental health goes hand in hand.
Yes.
And now the PEMA has explored various means to see how we can actually strengthen the protection system in the country. While there are laws, guidelines and rules and regulations in place, the first thing is what we are doing now, making the public aware that protection, child protection is a crucial component of well-being for all of us. Secondly, that's the reason why this August month, if you see the website, the PEMA website, you see a lot of materials on child protection. We are trying to encourage public and people to understand and then sensitize the people in the public more in a way that they will be able to understand child protection and its requirement. And secondly, strengthening the services, not only at the national level but also at the Dzongkhag level. So how are we doing it? It's important now to integrate these services. We are training health workers, not only in providing services, but also these holistic services of identifying violence and where they can report, the referral mechanism, the care ecosystem. How can we integrate services at the Dzongkhag level? We have gender, child, and focal persons. We have women and child committees in the Dzongkhags. The PEMA is trying to link to all these services in a way that across the nation we have this comprehensive care ecosystem where we support each agency to ensure, because child protection cannot be done only by one agency. We need to collaborate, coordinate, and ensure that every player takes up some role to ensure that every child is protected. If there are issues, responded on time in the best manner that the child requires.
So which agency the PEMA collaborates with? Is it CSOs, government agencies, NGOs? And how does this multi-sectorial or multi-agency collaboration works?
Lasla, that's a very important question. One agency cannot create a protection system. It takes a society to raise a child. It takes a community to raise a child. So now we have Ministry of Education doing a lot of prevention as well as response services, prevention programs. We have CSOs, we have Najan Lamten, we have Renew. These are direct service providers. We have the health centers, we have Royal Bhutan Police, we have the judiciary. So there are many important crucial core players. But that does not necessarily mean that other agencies and ministries do not play a crucial role in child protection system. There's something called the concept of task shifting or task collaboration, where every ministry, every agency feels the importance and understand their role in protection. As simple as the GovTech, for example. What kind of role does it play in child protection? In the social media, how it can play a role in the media, protecting children from all those non-consumable materials that are up there on the media. How can for example, Ministry of Finance contribute in child protection? There has been issues where the child protection system wasn't resourced adequately. Not necessarily in the form of finances, but also in the form of human resource. It takes some fund to build the human resource. So does the Ministry of Finance have a role? Yes. So it looks as if it is only the role of the PEMA and the health and NCWC or Renew to protect children. Not necessarily. It takes this whole society because there are different roles every agency can actually take up.
So any key achievements the PEMA have had so far in promoting child protection in Bhutan?
When it comes to the prevention level, as I mentioned, the prevention, the response, the reintegration, while we built on the services and legacies already set by the National Commission for Women and Children, Renew, these agencies were already there. We build upon them and try to see where are the gaps and then also see opportunities in the future. So we were able to set up a dedicated service center with protection officers. The recruitment of protection officer had been a challenge at some point in time, and now, though not adequate, we can at least say that we have protection officers in place. We have more coordination and linkage when it comes to services. We have more communication because all these services were scattered. We have more enhanced communication between the service providers and stakeholders. We are able to bring different agencies together to build that care ecosystem, to build a care ecosystem for the children. We are trying to now go into the communities to ensure that our parents, our community members also understands their role. As simple as I was saying in the Dzongkha version, selling alcohol to a very young child, 12-year-old, would mean I'm not being responsible community member. And child protection takes that courage as well as the responsibility of everybody, including not only the officers in agencies, but also each member in the community.
So, sir, beyond the Child Care and Protection Act of Bhutan 2011, are there any additional or supplementary legal frameworks for child protection in the country? And if there are, first thing you can mention about the additional or supplementary legal frameworks there are in the country, if there are in the country, sorry.
Bhutan ratified the CRC in 1990, and the Child Care and Protection Act 2011 is in line with the UNCRC, Child Rights Convention. And we have the Penal Code of Bhutan that defines all the crimes against children. Not beyond, of course, all types of crimes are there, but specifically mentioned, all the crimes against children are mentioned in the Penal Code of Bhutan. We have Child Adoption Act. We have guidelines for alternative care. We also have rules and regulations, child protection rules and regulations, and guidelines to ensure that all the service providers, while the law enforcement have their own procedures, there are also guidelines that guide service providers on how to provide services. So we have all these legal provisions and documents in place. We need to take it forward to sensitize this, what is present there, and then implement this in a way that, again coming back, the intention of all this document is to ensure that Bhutan will have a care ecosystem where every child is protected. So that intention has to be now strengthened and taken forward.
Since we have come near to the end of this episode, I'd like to ask Mr. Dukpa to wind up this session by stating how can a community, society, educational institutions, and most importantly, teachers and families can play a role in protecting and safeguarding our children.
Lesla, thank you so much. It's a huge question, but then I'll try to make it as short as possible. First, at the state level, the state has a huge responsibility, and I think Bhutan, the government has already intended and then committed to protect children in Bhutan. Given all these documents we have, it shows that the government has commitment to protect children. Now, all these documents has to be sensitized. And then one of the most important things that the state can do is prioritize child protection in finances, in resources, and in policies. At the community level, be responsible community member. It's not just your child. Everybody's child is a future citizen of the country. So it takes a community and their responsibility. Third, the schools will have a huge role to play. There needs to be programs in place. They already have. It's important to strengthen them and then identify and refer at the right time. Families have one of the biggest roles to play because it's there where children develop and grow most of the time and even play and sleep. So if there are family issues, it's important to seek help and then ensure that the family is the best place, home is the best place for children.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dukpa, for your time and this informative session on child protection. And today the key takeaway messages were about recognizing child protection issues and knowing who, where and how to report them. And he also highlighted the great work the PEMA is doing and emphasized the need for more support from various organizations to protect and care for our children. And that is all. Thank you so much to Mr. Dukpa for your time, and to the viewers, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take care and goodbye.